In this lesson, we're going to talk about level creation techniques. Alright, so now we want to start creating levels. We want to really get into Stingray, and instead of doing all the background stuff, we want to get a little more creative. So to get started with this, let's go to our content folder. We're going to go to models, and I'm going to go to buildings. And what I want you to do is I want you to drag in this level_01 street. Left click and drag that into Stingray, into the level viewport, and then with it in, let's type in 0 on the X and on the Y in your viewport. Perfect. So now that that has been placed, we can now begin to add different props to this street. So what I'm going to take care of first are going to be the sidewalks. So let's go to our props folder. And inside the props folder, you'll see that we have several different props to choose from. But what I'm looking for specifically is going to be the sidewalks. So inside of our asset browser, you can click on search and type in sidewalk. Now you'll notice as I start to do this and I hit enter, it only brings up sidewalk and it only brings up the textures. But I know that I have some props in there that are named that. It's important to know that the search is case sensitive right now. So if you type in capital SIDE and then type in sidewalk like that, you'll see that we now get a different result. Now if you're only looking for units or models, you can filter that out. So if I click on this filters button and scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see units. Let's go ahead and just filter it out to where it's only showing units. So now I'm going to left click and drag all of these units into the scene, and then I'll show you how to duplicate those right here inside of the level. So how are these props supposed to work? Well, you'll notice the sharp edges of the sidewalks. Those will go and match against the sharp edges of the street. So the curved edge will be outside of the street. Okay? Or inside, I should say. So let's take this object right here, and I'm going to use this biplanar movement, and I'm going to put it right up here, and I'm going to try to get that matched up. Now you'll notice there's a little bit of an issue. I could get in here and I could really start to rotate this around if I wanted to and try to get that into position, but I'm not going to get it perfect. As you can see, it's really it's kind of diagonal. It's not really matching up all that well. So how do we lay things out with more precision? Well, we could do that with the grid snap and the rotation step. So let's left click on grid snap, and this is going to snap to every 2.5 meters. And so as I start to move this around, it's snapping to the grid point. Now left click and hold on that, and I want you to know that we have snap to grid turned on. Whenever you have snap to grid turned on, these values that you put in are going to change the size of the grid itself. So if I were to come up and type in, let's say 1 on my custom, you'll see the grid size has changed. So however you want to do it, that's totally up to you. I'm okay with that 2.5, and so I'm going to go ahead and leave it the way that it was for now. So now that we have this all set up, let's go ahead and rotate it, and let's make sure that we have the rotation snap turned on as well. So let's set it to 45. That looks good. And then if I start to rotate this, you'll see that it over rotates now. So how do I get it to reset? Come over here to your transform property and type in -90, and whenever you see that happen, it will update properly there. Okay, so now we have that set. Just a couple of ways to get started with this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this into position, and I want it to sit right up against that. But you'll see that this straight edge is not really popping into place. So what I need to do is I need to rotate it around 180 degrees and then move it right down into position here. Now I'm using W and E to switch between the move tool and the rotate tool. So W is the move tool, E is the rotate tool. Let's take this guy right here and let's move him into position. And I'm going to put it right here because I know that I need to rotate it 90 degrees. See how it fits right there? And now what I want to do is I want to duplicate this object. So to duplicate it, you could do it a couple of different ways. The first way is to hit Control and D to duplicate, and then move it. The second way would be to hold Shift and drag it with the Move tool. So really quickly, let's take this guy right here, and I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to use a biplanar movement, and I'm going to put it right down here on this corner, just like that. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of those objects, holding down Control, and I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to drag this over to here, and then I'm going to rotate this around, and let's put it into position. Now it looks like I have a few too many, and that's okay. Let me just delete those out, and then move that right up to there. So now if I take these, let me take this guy right here, let me move that up, and then I'm going to take these straight edges, hold Shift, drag those across. Now again, you'll see that that's not matching up, so I'm just going to rotate it 180 degrees, and then put that into position there. So now I have these all set up, and I could just come in really quickly and Shift drag that across. Let's rotate it around to where I can get it into the right position here, just like that. I don't need that one. And then I'll put it here, and there we go. So now I've got this in the way here, got it all set up, and let's take this guy, put it right here, and do the same thing here. So as you can see, once you start to learn how to duplicate and you start setting objects together like this, you can start to get things moving a little bit faster. So I want you to continue to practice in between lessons by setting up the sidewalk all the way through. Now if you don't want to do that and you're comfortable with moving and manipulating, you can go ahead and move on into the next lesson, because what I'm going to do next is I'm going to have everything already set up. I'm going to have the buildings in place and all of that, and I want to start getting into the lighting. Okay, so placement of objects is not that difficult. You'll just have to make sure that you're placing them with precision properly, and then if you don't need that particular that grid snapping or rotation step, what you can do is you can turn that off, and you could start to really tweak how something is placed in the scene itself. So when we come back, I'll have the entire level all set up, and then you can actually just start up right from the next file. All right, so I'll see you then.